helped me have that perspective on DJing from the beginning is that I had been a musician, so I kind of understood like the process of learning an instrument before that. So when I saw you turntablisming, or whatever the word is, you know, you'd be doing all this stuff, and I'd show somebody who wasn't necessarily a musician and be like that sounds cool, but like I don't really get it or whatnot. And so some people maybe see the turntablism thing as like something extra or whatnot, and like I saw it through the lens of somebody who's already learned an instrument. So going from something like classical music, where it's just rigid and reading notes, basically, is you can express yourself, but within a very tight framework. And I remember the first time he asked us to scratch out loud, nearly had a brain meltdown. I'd never ever had to really truly improvise something. Like even on the saxophone, I never got to the point where I was like super free with improvisation. Like I kind of stopped at the point I had to start improvising. And I think there was this mental block that I'd never worked through before. So after he first asked us to scratch, I went home and cried. So I was like, oh my God, like my brain is just freaking out. And then after that, I just like slowly worked through this like blockage or this part of myself I hadn't opened. And like now I love scratching and being able to express myself. So it's definitely been a really cool and interesting journey for me, and the comparison between like performing music as a classical musician and then performing music as like a DJ, you know? So.
Right. I can tell you definitely asked the right questions. Just looking at your videos, I would say you've been DJing for about 20 years or so. So I guess that's not the case, but you definitely dove straight in, and you're doing a fantastic job because, like I said, it looks like you've been at it for a long time. So you would say only a couple of years at this point?
Year and a half.
Year and a half.
Crazy.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It helps live.
Uh-oh. Looks like the screen freezed up. Hopefully they'll join us back on. Look like the screen froze up for a second. What's up, everybody from around the world? UK. We're not sure what happened. That's all right. We got a little bit into Dilly taking it serious. At what point did you take it serious, Rob Swift, growing up? When did you know this is something you wanted to pursue and you were getting great at it?
Well, I think I took it serious from day one, right? Like I'm very driven and goal oriented. So if I'm going to do something, before I even do it, I come up with a game plan on how to effectively accomplish what it is that I want to do. So if you ask me to clean your car, before I pick up any kind of cleaning material, I'm thinking, what's the most effective cleaning material to buy? And so that's the way I am in general. So I think I took it serious from the moment I asked my brother I wanted to learn. I didn't really see myself taking it beyond the bedroom until I saw LL Cool J walk across the stage of a Soul Train Award show on Channel 11. I forgot what year it was, but he came out in his red fucking running and red Kangol. And I remember I looked at my dad and I was like, that's what I want to do, you know? And fast forward to when I was 19 years old, I got introduced to a guy named Dr. Butcher through a mutual friend of ours named Juju. Juju's in a group called the Beatnuts.
Yes.
I'm sure a lot of people watching are familiar with the Beatnuts.
Right.
And I met Dr. Butcher, and I had like it was just basically a life-changing moment. You know, the trajectory of my perception of where I could take DJing just was altered that day because I was seeing someone do all the crazy stuff that I heard Cash Money and Jazzy Jeff do up until that point, but I was seeing it live in the flesh in this guy's room with Juju next to me, and I was just like, wow, like it just made an impression on me physically that I can't really put into words. And I remember after he stopped DJing, I asked him, like, the way, you know, if you watch a martial arts movie and there's always the storyline goes, there's a young man that wants to learn how to fight, and he asks the older man to teach him. You start to see that student master relationship develop. That's exactly what happened with Drew and I. Like I asked him to take me on as a student. He did. And for 7 months we trained, or I should say he trained me. And I entered my first battle and placed third in that. And then the following year, I trained for those 12 months and entered the same battle and won. And that's when I realized, like, wow, that there's more to this than me just doing it for my friends, like house parties, or for myself in my bedroom, that I could share my creativity with a bigger audience. And I haven't looked back since.
I'm glad you mentioned some of those battles. Can you take us back to what you consider your most memorable competition?
I would say my most memorable competition, there are two. It's hard to pinpoint it to one. The first one, obviously, is the battle I won, because as a DJ, it's not necessarily the idea that I won a trophy or a DMC jacket. It's the fact that I went through the process, as Dilly referenced earlier, of experiencing myself working towards that goal and then accomplishing it, and being able to look back and know that there were obstacles, as you referenced earlier, that I jumped over, and that I didn't let politics get in my way. DJ politics. A lot of times you get in competitions and there's a judge on the panel that has his protege in the battle and votes for his protege, although the protege lost to you. Shit like that would happen. And all those obstacles just, if anything, motivated me to accomplish what I wanted to accomplish even more. So definitely winning the DMC, because I was able to do it. And the second battle that I would say ranks up there as most memorable would have to be when the X-Men, myself, Rock Raider, rest in peace, Mr. Sinister, battled the Invisible Scratch Pickles in 1996. Peace to Qbert, Shortcut, Mixmaster Mike. The three of us battled the three of them, and that was just an epic East Coast versus West Coast battle. Scratchers versus beat jugglers. Again, referencing martial arts, you know, a lot of the storyline in a lot of those movies is like different styles competing against each other and which style's gonna triumph. And that was the prototypical scenario in that battle. You know, you had Qbert, Mike, Shortcut, who were known for their fast scratches and technicality on the cut. And then you had the New York style, the beat juggling, funky, showmanship, braggadocious sort of approach to DJing in the X-Men. And to this day, I always tell people, you know, we battled in two sections. There was a team battle, and there was a battle that we did as individuals. So the team battle was them three at the same time on like 5 turntables going at it. And then we went all at the same time on like 5 turntables going at it. And then later on that day, we battled at another club, and it was individual, one-on-one, head-to-head style. And I always tell people, they won the team battle, we won the individual battle. But overall, that battle, you know, anyone could log on to YouTube right now, go to my YouTube page and watch it. It was epic. And I can't think of a competition before or since that displayed the type of skill that we did. You know, that was an amazing competition. And peace to the Invisible Scratch Pickles, because they really pushed us to practice hard for that battle.
No doubt. Back to you two. At what point did you guys say, hey, let's get together and, you know, form this team White Chocolate?
No, be honest.
Right, so that's a good question. So it's definitely come about this year. I think obviously when I met Rob, I was like a little tiddlywink at DJing. So, you know, there wasn't, we kind of, I mean, I think Rob had like this scheme in his head that he's going to turn me into something, you know, as he always has a long game in sight. But I think, you know, Rob had some, I don't know, personal events unfold is probably the best way of putting it, which brought him to sort of reshuffle some things in sort of the list of priorities. And I don't know, you know, life sometimes pushes you in these directions that are uncomfortable, but actually end up being good in the long run. I like to say, like, things that make you grow feel shit in the moment, but then really good afterwards in the long term. But things that are self-destructive feel really good in the moment, and then you feel shit about it afterwards. So it was one of those like growth sort of like universe pushing you in a direction things. And you know, I said to him, you know, if you need somebody to help, or if you know, you want to create something, or you want to have somebody to be creative with, especially over lockdown, like, you know, I'm here. Like, I might not be very good or whatever, but you know, I'm always here to like just support you and help you bounce ideas off. And then that kind of happened a few times. Like, I said that because it was like a crisis, and I'd be like, hey, you know, I'm always here, you know. Then another crisis, I'm like, hey, you know, like, I'm here. Don't worry, like, shit isn't going to be that bad. And then, yeah, lockdown happened, and obviously it was just him and I, and we just started posting like little videos together. You know, we would do little scratch practice together and sometimes like film it. And then just sort of like got bigger and better with each video. And then, you know, we got the green screen, and then we debuted on Be Real TV, which is a cool show called The DJ Green Room. And then, yeah, kind of the rest you've probably seen. I don't know, maybe you want to talk about this a little bit as well.
So I'm going to be straight up with you, man. Like, people know that I have a partner in crime that I DJ with, Mr. Sinister, and we call ourselves the Odd Couple. And Sin and I, our relationship as friends is deeper than anything that you see on IG or Facebook regarding what we do as DJs. Like, he's a brother to me, and I'm a brother to him. So back in 2018, Sin and I decided to practice together and just have fun, just practice, because Sin was noticing that I was doing things with other members of the Executioners, namely Total Eclipse and a guy named Precision, who was a newer member of the group. And we would tour together and stuff like that. And through mutual friends and acquaintances, it got back to me that Sin felt the way that I was doing these shows with Precision and Eclipse and not involving Sin. But the thing with Sin is that Sin doesn't, at the time, Sin didn't have a passport. So it's like we would go off to Europe and I couldn't bring him. You know what I mean? And anyone that knows Sin out there, and I have no qualms about speaking about this because this is public information, knows that Sin could be a live wire. You know what I mean? He could just be one of those guys that, like, you know, just wows out sometimes. You know what I'm saying? So, but that said, he's a brother to me. So at the end of the day, regardless of whom or what, when it comes down to being creative and the fact that he and I were mentored by the same person, Dr. Butcher, you know, I'm always going to tap Sin to do shit that has to do with those turntables.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Rob really looks out for him. Like, you always have Joe's best interest. And like, the whole Odd Couple came out of like you trying to help him.
Yeah, we were practicing just for the fun of it because Sin felt a way about me touring with Precision and Eclipse. And him not being involved. So I hit him up and I was like, yo, man, come to the house. Let's practice just for fun and post videos just to stay creative, man, and to keep you occupied, you know? So he started coming over. This is 2018. We're having fun posting videos. Next thing you know, promoters are seeing these videos of us cutting it up here in this room. and asking me if we were interested in flying to Charlotte, North Carolina, Jacksonville, Florida, Los Angeles. We were touring not based off an album, based off YouTube videos that we were posting. You know what I'm saying? We started touring, and then a year went by and Sin came over for another practice session. And he was like, yo, man, let's put together an album. Because we've toured. People are gonna want to see and experience more of us. And there's but so many tours we're gonna get off YouTube videos. Like, we should put out a proper project. So we released an album called The Odd Couple. Well, actually, we released an EP called The Odd Couple on Fool's Gold Records a year ago in 2019. And when we put that out, then things exploded even more. And now whereas in 2018, we're touring the nation, you know, the different states in this country, we started getting offers to tour outside of the country. And there was this one particular date we had in Toronto, and we get to customs, and unfortunately they didn't let Sin through customs, and we had a gig. You know what I mean? So
right.
So that's where that, you know, Sin, again, you know, people know this about him, man. Like, he's a live wire sometimes, you know what I mean? So there were things that they saw in his record that made them feel like we can't let this guy in our country. So real talk, yeah, I had to do the show by myself, right? I had to, and it was a big gig.
Festival.
There was a big festival in Toronto, Canada.
Which was really fun. It was a really cool.
Yeah, it was really dope. It was really dope for Scratch Bastard, his barbecue festival. So,
right.
And it was myself, Dilly, Sin-seer. A couple of my students flew up there just to see us perform. But I think the experience of watching me have to deal with Sin not being able to get through customs and troubleshoot what I was going to do by myself, because we had prepared an Odd Couple show. Now I got to go up there unprepared, and to kind of bring it back full circle. Again, I'm that guy that likes to have a game plan in order, right, before I execute. And then having to, like, within an hour or so, figure out what I was going to do, it just stressed me out, I remember. And that's where Dilly stepped in, and she was just like, fuck. I think she felt like, I'm here and I'm learning how to DJ, but like, I'm not good enough right now to bail Rob out. Like, I can't help him. And I think that made an impression on her. And she told me, she was like, yo, like, train me more, train me harder, Rob. And like, I want to get better so that, like, if something like this were to happen again, I could be there for you, you know. And just talking about it, man, like, I get emotional because she stepped up, and that's what, like, a ride or die girlfriend does. You know what I mean? She stepped up, and
no doubt.
and here we are, literally a year and 2 months later, and we're.
Yeah, I mean, Rob didn't really take me seriously when I said that back then. He was like, yeah. When I could, like, barely do anything, right? I was just learning to backspin, and like, just even one beat at a time was like a bit intimidating to me. So actually my growth over the last year is actually insane. But it was, you know, like, a few more of those sort of events happened, and then it was really like Christmas this year where I came back from London after my holiday. We went to Nam, and you know, I just got really inspired at Nam as well, because there was a lot of really cool
Nam is a convention for musicians, DJs. They showcase all the new equipment, all
like
the new
everything.
gear. Yeah.
Like, from staging equipment, like electric guitars, you had like rock dudes, you had hip hop people. So it's a really cool event just to go to if you're in the industry or if you own a venue or whatever. But yeah, I got really inspired there specifically because there were so many cool female DJs about. Like, the West Coast is just bubbling with amazing female DJs. You know, shout out East Coast, but that was like the first time I'd seen everybody like in one room, and I was like, wow, like, this isn't just, you know, a couple of dudes much older than me doing this. Like, that is a community where I feel I can be, like, identify with slightly more. And then that kind of jump started even more growth. And then it was really kind of after NAMM, which we started like posting videos